You're listening to exclusive coverage of the Pasadena Tournament of Roses Parade. Once again, here's Cindy Dole.
And of course, how perfect, because as we are now watching at the TV corner right at the cusp of where Orange Grove and Colorado meet on this beautiful New Year's Day morning, the Bayer Advanced Camelot float is riding by, and of course this is the float where they always debut a couple of spectacular roses, like this year the Dick Clark rose that everyone's going to want to have, and Walkin' on Sunshine rose. With me is Lance Walheim, who knows all about that. He's written all kinds of books. He's one of our gardening guru friends on Home Wizards, and he's a spokesperson for Bayer Advanced. Welcome to our parade coverage, Lance.
Good morning, Cindy.
So you've had a chance to see the float up close.
I have.
Tell us what's on the float.
Well, you know, there's just so many wonderful things on it. We got the Dick Clark rose, of course, which is, you know, what could be better for New Year's Eve? I mean, he's an American icon, and it means New Year's to most people. We've got over 10,000 roses on the float.
Oh.
You know, some wonderful things, too. I mean, the textures that they do, they create with the silver leaf. If you can see it on TV,
yeah,
you can see where they've actually used coconut bark to create some of the shingles on top of one of the little turrets. And they're about 3/4 of an inch big, and they actually had to iron each one, and they put them on exactly like a roof.
They had to iron them?
Yeah, they had to iron them first, and then they put them on. It took 3 days just to do the one turret there with the.
Too much.
Yeah, really
that
is
silver
something.
leaf is always, I mean, last year with the fluorographs that came in handy, I mean, it's a stunning use of a material to really get that sheen.
Right, and it's a plant that most Southern Californians know. It's Leucadendron argenteum, and it just shines. And they line them up just perfectly, so every leaf reflects the sun in just the same way. It's spectacular. These people are so creative.
And in getting back to that Dick Clark rose, it's something that we can find right now in our garden centers.
You bet.
And it's a little bit of red, a little bit of
it's a grandiflora.
Burgundy and cream.
Right, and what's unique about it is it's cream, and it's got a wash of cherry red on it. And then as the flower opens, the cherry red darkens. So what you get is the rose bush. It has no two flowers are alike, and it's really great.
Well, it's a beautiful float, so it's great to have you here, Lance. And can you stick around to talk about some of the other flowers that we're seeing here? So right now, the next float that's passing on by, if you're looking at your TV, you're probably seeing, it's kind of like the TV cameras are a little bit further away from us, and so we're getting a preview of the floats. But right now, you're having a chance to see also the State Fair float, which is a really, really cute float. And I got to go see the making of this float. It's put out by the Discover Financial Service people. And this is all about the State Fair. That's the theme, you know, basically when you go to the fair, you try to win that stuffed animal. Well, you know, all these floats are covered with all natural materials, right? Well, they used actual teddy bears to then cover them with flowers and seeds to create that look of winning a stuffed animal. I mean, it's the classic at the carnival games, right? Oh, and here's a piece of trivia for you, Lance. Did you know that you can't use rocks on floats?
I did not know that.
And so for the State Fair float, they wanted to have the look of rocks, and they had a lot of squash, but they used something called the Hubbard squash, which is really not the prettiest thing. It's kind of got a lot of warts, but it's a sagey green and grayish looking squash, and it looks like a rock.
Yeah, it's a winter squash.
So there you go, and it's a good time. They have a lot of pumpkins on the float, so that's the State Fair float. Now, moving on to another great, beautiful float, and this is the one that's put out by the Quick Crete folks, and it's all about the Three Little Pigs. And the guy that designed this float happens to have been a great Disney animator, and so it makes sense. These Three Little Pigs, one house, of course, is built of straw. The second house is built of sticks. But on this one, to keep the big bad wolf away, they thought they would build that house out of Quickcrete. Of course, the folks that make the concrete mix that you see all over the country and have been around for, 70 years, packaging concrete and cement. And the flesh on the pigs, by the way, it's always fascinating to me to see what they use for skin, whether it's an animal or not. It's kind of like a breakfast stew, farina. Have you seen that? They use farina flours, and then they put it in a blender with strawberry and rice, and then it gives you that kind of pink pig flesh.
Yeah, it's amazing how not only will they use these interesting materials, but they'll mix them and blend them to get different shades, and it's fascinating.
And you mentioned coconut on the Bayer Advanced float, and we'll see a lot of white on many of these floats. In fact, a lot of the floral designers who are behind these floats, which, by the way, we'll talk about how this whole process takes a year to get these floats together, that white is actually one of the most difficult colors to get it really crisp and white, and coconut is it. And so they choose like one of 4 different kinds of coconuts.
Right, and I've seen them grind up rice.
Grind it up.
Yeah.
Oh, heck, talk about rice. I mean, they use nail clippers to get the rice just the right size to make lettering on a float. Now, passing around the TV corner is the Cal Poly float. Cal Poly students, I mean, this is an amazing thing because 80 entries were submitted in a contest open to all the students, and it's called Galactic Expedition. And it's example of friends using their imagination to soar to new heights, which makes sense. But you got to love it because it's a great chance for all the students to get involved and volunteer. In fact, as you're seeing these floats, think about all those volunteers who come in from all over the world. This is on their bucket list. And so, Lance, when you were there over at one of the barns where your float was being assembled, I mean, did you talk to some of the volunteers?
Oh, this is our 11th year, and we see some of the same people every year. And these people are so dedicated. And like you say, they'll come from all across the country. They'll take their vacation time, and they come. And not only do they volunteer, but they're artists. I mean, they're so good at putting this plant material together and making it look so real.
And you don't have to be an artist, too, which is kind of cool. I mean, you can be someone who just takes direction from a real artist, and if you are interested in getting involved in this, just go to tournamentofroses.com, and there's a list of all the different float designers and communities. I mean, it's everything from those floats that have very little money to those that have a big advertising campaign effort, and you can sign up now because things start getting going just before Christmas.
Yeah, and hundreds of school kids, all the school kids that come in on shifts for 8 hours, just work dedicated.
And you win, and you get, well, you win, but you earn some class credit, which is so great because it's considered part of the community service. So if you're looking at your TV screen, you can see right now the Cal Poly float is making its way. That's the Galactic Expedition. Really a great float. Now, the music that you're hearing behind me, that's coming up. This is a band. It's called the All Birdville Marching Band from Halton City, Texas, and 500 members altogether. And what a treat for all of these high school kids to get to come on in and be part of this world-watched event that is such a celebrated event. And as we were talking earlier to the folks in Wisconsin, just one example, people come here, and this is why you see those U-Haul trucks moving into Pasadena, moving to Southern California, because it never fails. Well, minus 2006 when it rained last, but we've got what they're calling that beautiful blue sky, a Rose Bowl weather. Well, our coverage continues, and they're so proud to be broadcasting live from the Tournament of Roses Parade in partnership with the Lions Club International, a beacon of hope since 1917, and of course, my friends at Bayard Vance, the all-in-one rose and flower care, and Lance Walheim here with them, and it's that no-spray formula that we love because it works three ways. It controls the bugs, and it also fights disease, and it gives you those Tournament of Roses brighter, more vibrant flowers and blooms. Bayard Vance, better science, better results. Cindy Dole and the live coverage from the Rose Parade, where all the action is at the corner of Orange Grove and Colorado, continues here on KFWB News Talk 980.